Can everybody hear me? I'm so happy to be back in Chile. It is a place that I have loved visiting. And as an outsider, I wanted to share some of my thoughts about what has been really important to me about the process of scientific discovery. And the theme is going to be focused on heritage. It's about what the study of preservation of life in the past, in the deep past, can inform us and connect us today, because I think heritage is important, and I want to convince you of that as well. It has been so nice to be back in Chile, especially here in the summer, where I'm from in Washington, D.C. It is a frigid, frozen wasteland, so I'm so happy to be in the sun and in the nice weather. And when I arrived in Santiago, I went up to Cerro Santa Lucia to go on a path that one of my heroes, Charles Darwin, did 200 years ago. In fact, at the top of Cerro Santa Lucia, there's a garden, Jardin Darwin, named after him. And of course, Darwin is the person who gave us the theory of evolution by natural selection. And the theme I want to express here is the importance of place. Getting to walk in the garden in the same place where Darwin walked is very visceral, very connecting. And Darwin spent time in Santiago. He actually spent time all throughout the cone of South America. And he spent almost 3 years traveling throughout what is now Argentina and Chile. And it is the experiences that he collected throughout his travels that became essential for structuring his ideas about history, about how life has changed in the past and how it continues to change today. And as a paleontologist, I think this is so important. I can even go back to Darwin's notebooks, and you can see his geological sketches of the Cordillera. And these sketches, while almost 200 years old, are still relevant to someone like me today, working in the 21st century, because reading the rocks is the first step about understanding why that heritage is important. One of the more significant contributions that I've been privileged to work on here in Chile is a collaboration at this site named Cerro Baena in the Atacama region. You can see it is right next to a highway. This is Ruta 5, going, at the time, only 2 lanes through a road cut that, when a construction company was expanding, revealed dozens of large skeletons of fossil whales. And this was an extraordinary event. We happened to be a group of collaborators. I was collaborating with Chilean scientists from Museo Nacional and Chile, and we had an amazing opportunity. And you might think, oh, right place, right time. For me, it was right place, wrong time, because of the logistical challenges of knowing about these enormous skeletons, whale-sized skeletons. How do you collect any information about it? That was a challenge 15 years ago. And fortunately, I remembered that back in Washington, D.C., there is an emerging program about digitizing natural history museums. I'm going to get back to this point about revealing information through data. This is very appropriate for this session about heritage and also for the entire Congreso Futuro. There was a team of 3D digitizers, and I said, hey, can you take these tools outside of a museum, maybe in the Atacama, and could we try scanning all these skeletons? And fortunately, we were able to do that. We were able to rescue information about the past. The fossils themselves never left Chile. They are still today at a museum in Caldera, in the Atacama region. But while the objects are essential because they're irreplaceable, it's about the information with them that can tell us so much more about why that heritage matters. And of course, the science is very important. So one of the things we found out about Cerro Baena was it's not just one site. There are 4 sites on top of each other. These color codings tell you about the different layers through time. Again, reading rocks through time is one of the main jobs of paleontologists, because once you have that chronology, then you can know what is important about those objects through time. And I want to point out one person at the side of, this image here. She has her hat down, but that is Dr. Ana Valenzuela Toro, who is now a researcher at Cian Atacama. At the time, she was a student at Chile, and she collaborated with us on this site. This was the start of her career. So People are a really important part of this. We sometimes tell stories in science as if the discoveries are just made by themselves, but I want to make the point that people make those discoveries. Now, here's an opportunity for you to take out your phone. This is the results of our work at Cerro Baena. You can point your phone on this QR code and you will be able to see the results of this work, of digitizing the giant whales at Cerro Baena. This on stage is actually very close to being life-size. And this is one of those most perfect fossil whale skeletons preserved. With that QR code, it will take you right to the 3D data that's available online for everybody to see. This is all about accessibility of this information that is sometimes not accessible to everybody, especially if you cannot go see the material yourself. And with the 3D model, you can visualize it, you can measure it, you can share it, you can even, let's see, what do I have here? You can even print it as a 3D model, like I have in my hand, a whale-sized skeleton that I can put in my pocket. So I think this kind of technology is amazing, but I don't have the best uses for it because I think that is the job of students in the future, is to understand how we can make these tools, how we can use these tools best for the application to the next set of scientific questions, or the next ways that we want to share these stories with the public. And fortunately in Chile, I'm so happy to share that it is not just about Cerro Baena. I'm so proud of my collaborators throughout many different institutions, including the Museo Nacional, Chile, and many other institutions. You may have heard about some of these discoveries. Chilesaurus, here on your left. Stegosaurus on your right. These are globally significant scientific stories, and I've used the cover of the scientific journals in which they appear, because that reporting of science in a scientific publication, that is actually the foundation of knowledge. That's knowledge generating. Knowledge sharing is getting that information out to all the audiences so that they know about the value of that as it reflects the value of heritage. That's the information we want to share. It's also not just about dinosaurs. Soon you will hear out of a published paper by one of my colleagues, Dr. Judith Pardo at Universidad Marianas in Patagonia. Here she is next to the bones of a marine reptile that lived just at the start of the age of the dinosaurs, called an ichthyosaur. They're these amazing whale-like reptiles, and even more amazing is the context. As climate change is happening, the glaciers recede, revealing heritage that needs to be documented, that needs to be preserved, that needs to be known. Judith will be sharing more about this with her own Congreso Futuro talk either today or tomorrow. So please listen in, and you will no doubt hear more about her discoveries in the future. Back to the Atacama, a new public-private partnership called Cian Atacama is able to engage the public with these amazing discoveries, including fossils like here, the scientific director, Dr. Martin Chavez, showing in yellow, Pelagornis, an outline of a fossil bird that was the largest feathered flight animal ever. And it is known from the fossil beds near Caldera. And it is actually one of Martin's specialties. He's a world's expert on Pelagornis. It is so important to be able to engage the public with the very exciting, very accessible, very knowable parts of Chile's past through this kind of public engagement. And last year, Martin and his collaborators were able to host a congress in Copiapó. This is a paleontological congress where students and scientists, professors, curators can all come and exchange information. Again, that foundational knowledge about life in the past. This was attended by over 300 participants. That is an incredible number of future scientists. So when you ask me about the future of science in Chile, I look to this crowd and I see that the future is very, very bright. It's not just about that foundational knowledge, though. It's all about not just knowledge producing, but knowledge sharing. And Cian has developed a public works campaign, public arts campaign, here in Caldera. Street art, done with illustrations by many local artists. These are just two of my favorites from many examples throughout the streets of Caldera, showing illustrations, paleo art of these extinct animals, many of whose bones are distributed all throughout the fossil beds in the Atacama region. highlighting the value as a way to inspire the public to share that wonder, share that majesty. It is almost has irreplaceable value, because when you think about how to tell people about the past, I know very few people who do not think that this is awesome, that this is fun. And being able to share that knowledge, knowing that it rests on a foundation, I think is fantastic. So place is really important, and place is important because objects like this fossil, these are the parts of a backbone of a fossil shark, probably about 7 million years old, from fossil beds around Caldera. These objects are known from a place that tell you about where it was in the past, how it changed over those millions of years of being preserved, and it also tells you a story about people as well. So science doesn't just happen on its own, it happens because there are people there to tell you about it, to collect these fossils, to protect them, to share them. And when I think about what's exciting to me about fossils, they have that ability to transport you, to take you outside of just the limits of what you can see and what you can know, to imagine a past that is actually knowable through the tools of science. And to me, this is actually not very different from the next talk that you will hear by my colleague Patrick, who will tell you a bit more about observatories in the Atacama, like the Vera Rubin, which will turn on later this year. The same way that we can know about light from many millions and even billions of years ago. It's very similar to the kind of work we do in paleontology, and we tell these very big stories. So I think the limits of reaching the public with knowledge has to do with storytelling. So if you are a storyteller, please go talk to scientists. There are so many amazing, great stories to tell, and a lot of those stories are discoveries made in Chile, and I think that is a great source of pride for anybody in Chile or from Chile. The last point I want to make is about people, because people are the start of the story, and then it loops back after you create knowledge and share it to the networks that we have. And science is important to society because it informs, but also connects people together. And I've had this experience throughout my 15 years of collaborations in Chile. And last year, I returned to Cerro Baena with Anna, and we took this selfie. This now shows the 2 lanes of highway going through the site. All the fossils have been removed. They're protected. They will still be studied. We are still working together actively on projects to know more about these fossils and others throughout the fossil beds around Caldera. But it is about people, and I am so inspired by Anna and by the next generation of scientists here in Chile, which I think is all about the future, which is what Congreso Futuro is here to share. Thank you so much.